Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the live webinar on Agentic AI and Cybersecurity, Real-World Impact and Strategic Insights. I'm Marco Matic, the Regional Sales Manager of ANZ, and I'll be your host today. Joining me will be Michael Gioa, who's a Senior Sales Engineer of ANZ, and he'll be presenting today and supported by Zubair Mukhtar Chowgali, who's the Manager of Sales Engineering at MIA, and he'll be answering all your questions on the Q&A in the chat channels. And lastly but not least, we have Dev Singh, Head of Sales, APJ, who'll come in for the live Q&A session. Next slide, Mike. Oh, wait a second, Michael. Before we start, guys, I'd like to give everyone a little bit of a snapshot on who Securonix is. So next slide, Michael. Thanks. Well, founded in 2008, we set out to solve modern security challenges by pioneering the use of behavior analytics in cybersecurity. Our focus was on shifting from traditional perimeter-based defenses to identity and data-centric security. We became a leader in UBA, enabling organizations to detect abnormal behavior that could indicate insider threats or compromised accounts. We then expanded into next-gen SIEM, combining big data, machine learning, and advanced threat detection. From there, we built a cloud-native platform offering better scalability and flexibility compared to legacy SIEMs. We developed strong integrations with the broader cybersecurity ecosystems, covering endpoint, network, identity, and cloud security tools. We also recently acquired Threat Quotient, integrating internal and external threat intelligence, and more importantly, introduced new agentic AI offerings. Today, Securonix is seen as a next-gen SIEM leader, trusted by Fortune 500 companies and governments. Next slide. It is with this investment and driving innovation that has allowed Securonix to be recognized as a 5-time leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for SIEM, and we've been awarded the Customer's Choice by Gartner Peer Insights twice now. The next slide. So let's talk about what security teams are really facing. Over 60% of SOC operators are reporting alert fatigue, too many false positives, too much manual triaging. The old SIEM model is putting teams to the brink. Next slide. And this is what we're hearing from the top of the house. CISOs are no longer being asked to choose between innovation, cost control, operational excellence. The mandate is clear. They're asking and basically telling the business and the CISOs to do all three. Next slide. So that said, today's live webinar, as mentioned, will be presented by Michael, and I'll be supporting him as well. And he will explore how agentic AI is transforming the SOC, enabling proactive, autonomous, and efficient threat detection and response. So you'll gain insights into how autonomous AI agents can reduce SOC workloads and operational fatigue, real-world use cases of AI-driven defense strategies in action, and the Forrester TEI findings on measurable return on investment from AI-driven security. And once again, please feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A and the chat channels, and we'll basically happily support addressing them during the sessions. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Mark. Awesome. Okay. Before I get into the agentic AI stuff, I thought it'd be appropriate just to do a bit of framing on Securonix as the platform itself. Okay, so there's a bit of content on this slide, so bear with me. So here we have a deep dive into Securonix's platform. It's trying to make sure that everyone understands we're touting here a single unified platform. It combines SIM, so Security Information Event Management, SOAR, Security Orchestration, Automation and Response, UEBA, User and Entity Behavior Analytics, and now most recently TIP, or Threat Intelligence Platform capability, through our recent acquisition of Threat Quotient. So there's no bolt-ons here, no third-party integration chaos. We run cloud native from day one with cost optimization, powered by our data pipeline manager, which isn't exactly shown here, but I'll dovetail to that later. And
Michael,
partner native.
I'm sorry, there's something issue with your slide. Can you reset it, please?
We are seeing two windows.
Yeah.
That's better.
This is fine.
That's it, Michael. That's working now.
Right. Okay. Sorry about that. That was my notes. That was important, but that's okay. I'll run freeform. It's more of an immersive experience. So that's I was running through the capabilities of Securonix's SIM. So no bolt-ons, no third-party integration chaos, built on AWS and Snowflake as our prime partners. And the use of agentic AI, though, is not noticeable here. It's part of the framing. It's important that I set the scene for the framing. It's really designed, the agentic AI agents, and there's several of them, to uplift and up-level SOC capability. Okay, and this is all measured and true. I'm just conscious of the chat, but that's okay. Hopefully, oh, good. All right, sorry about that. 100%, 177% return on investment, $2 million plus net present value, and 90% reduction false positives. These are all attributes and measured telemetry that is real and anecdotal. Okay. In line with that, leader in the SIM market, 5 times leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and you can go back and check. I'm not lying. And two times Peer Insights Customers' Choice. So we're trusted by 1,000 plus worldwide and 10 Fortune 100 customers. So all the technology is backed by real notables and anecdotes through customer and partner use with MSSPs. Okay, continuing on. There's 2 paradigms that I'm going to step through, which is a mix between operational excellence, engineered for the modern SOC. So we have a paradigm or an architectural mindset for operational excellence, as well as innovation excellence. Okay, so I'll go through the operational excellence first. And they are as follows. So these are like modus operandi or pillars with which we address and attention the operational excellence of what we consider the SOC that needs to have. Okay, so first one on the left, unified detection and response platform. So Securonix is offering in this unified detection and response platform pillar is, it's a little bit of alliteration, so I'm going through this again, but the native and non-bolt-on and immersive workflow capability and modules offering with SIM, UEBA, SOAR, and TIP. So it's in unified experience being threat detection, investigation, response, no modules, no add-ons, no third-party patchwork. And therefore the result is seamless detection to response with fewer tools and faster workflows. Okay, next pillar, real-time correlation and behavior analytics. So behavior analytics and real-time threat modeling are embedded across the Securonix platform. It was actually something that we came out with first, which is the cornerstone of UEBM as our offering to the market. The result, as a result of having such a thing, accurate detections, fewer false positives, and contextual investigations powered by a live enrichment. Okay, now is a little bit more of the agentic AI twang or pivot. So up-leveling the analyst experience with agentic AI. So Securonix agentic AI modules, and it's important to note it's not just one, there are several, and we have the following. So Spotter or Search, our investigate module, the response agentic AI module, and policy for policy creation. All of these automate high-burden SOC functions with explainable logic, and really the search is only one of those. So some of our competitors will tout that they leverage agentic AI and LLM, and really only offering search as that fundamental offering. We've got that plus all the aforementioned that I iterated through, and I can't wait to show you. So the result is up to 50% analyst workload reduction and 70% faster mean time to respond. Finally, cloud native scalable infrastructure. So built natively on AWS and Snowflake, as I mentioned before, with containerized services and event-driven compute and multi-region availability. Therefore, the result, elastic performance, elastic scalability, zero infra ops, and full SaaS reliability. Carrying on. Now, pillars in AI innovation. Okay, so here are the 4 pillars with respect to what we consider for SOC innovation. Agentic AI for detection, response, and enrichment. So there's a little bit of overlap here, but it's important that I labor this to a degree. Securonix agentic AI introduces autonomous but collaborative agents, and they specialize in triage, intent detection, threat hunting, and auto response, not just search, as you saw. And the result is scalable innovation with explainability and policy guardrails. The next pillar, federated search across hot and cold data. So because one of our partners is Snowflake as a big data company, Securonix allows full text queries across tiers, no rehydration required, and the result is compliance and forensic investigations without the cost of delay. Next pillar, natural language detection engineering. So Securonix, one of the agentic AI agents, being the policy agent, it uses Gen AI to convert analyst intent into working detection logic, and I'll show you this later. The result is rapid deployment of high fidelity detections, no code required. And in line with that, the search is the same. So rather than understanding or having to learn the fundamental search language, natural language can be used for search. I'm just conscious of the chat always popping up, and I just, okay. So it's my wonderful teams putting C questions out there. That's good. Finally, open cloud native ingestion architecture. So Securonix ingests from any source, enriches natively, routes flexibly, bring your own cloud for full control and ecosystem flexibility. And that, therefore, the result is modern extensible architecture with zero vendor lock-in. Okay, now we're getting more to the agenda around the agentic AI agents and also the mesh that's involved. So the agents are designed to perform high impact tasks across threat detection, investigation, and response, which is the fundamental outcome as a result of the use of the platform. While beginning to form an open architectural framework for an agentic mesh. So there's a little bit of verbiage here that I need to iterate through. Apart from the agents, and I'm going to step through them now, it's important that we resonate that Securonix's intent to provide these agentic AI agents is that it's part of a mesh framework such that there is the potential of bidirectional collaboration with other vendor agentic AI agent capability themselves. And it's really just up to the remit or the intent for the other vendors to collaborate with us. This is a different pop-up now. Question and answer. Okay, hopefully someone's got that Q&A. Okay, so first, let's iterate through noise cancellation agent. So there is a noise cancelling SIM or NCS capability within the product. And the intent for that with the LLM capability that we've provided is it reduces alert volume by 50%. And I'll show you that live. Insider intent agent. The purpose of this is to identify malicious intent based on language. Okay. Spotter agent, which is our search, converts natural language into spotter queries. I'll show you that live too. Response agent. So this performs actions of L1 and L2 to prioritize threats. Policy agent, the fundamental sigma or YAML that's required to create a policy, which leads to a violation. It's our fundamental core detection sentiment. One can use natural language to create a policy. So instead of having to learn Sigma or YAML, you can just create or go through the wizard. You can use natural language to create a policy. And then finally, our data pipeline manager agent. So data pipeline is a capability in Securonix period anyway, but with the added benefit of having the agent, the agent actually recommends the tiers and the settings for the logs with regards to security required logs versus the superfluous logs. Okay, prior, it would be more of a manual setting in order to break that demarcation. So it's good to have an agent now that can help with that. There's a bit to go through there. And I'm not sure if I can showcase everything today with respect to time, but we'll get through most of it. Okay, so just as we curtail towards the end of the slide there, before I get to the demo, this is just one of our anecdotes and our customer testimonials from our region, which is from NEC Asia Pacific, with Job Chan being the head of our HQ managed services. These are literal live anecdotes. So through the use of Securonix SIM or Unified Defense SIM, NEC saw 60% reduction in false positives through the AI-driven alert tuning, 70% true positive detection accuracy with the behavior analytics, 40% faster mean time to respond via the automated playbooks, and 50% detections identified as insider threats, therefore improving internal security posture.
So this is just a case study that shows and backs up what we've been speaking about in the last previous slides about modernizing legacy SIEMs to bring them forward with the technology and innovation.
Thank you, Mark. And we have the Forrester report, which further drives some of the telemetry and the anecdotes that's been seen. So we'll share links, I presume, Cleanne and for our wonderful marketing team for this Forrester report post the webinar. But I've just tried to glean out some of the high notable telemetry data points in the overarching report.
And just with this was just to basically back up the stuff that we've actually been seeing from clients. So we commissioned Forrester to do a report for us. to justify and see what we're actually seeing from our customers, that other organizations will see its true value itself. So from that report, we actually got some really favorable results in terms of risk reduction, reduction in false positives, as we mentioned before, which is what's one of the sort of detriments to legacy SIEMs. So that's why we actually got that report there as well. Sorry, Michael.
Awesome. No, don't be silly. And I had a chance to dovetail to the chat. So a wonderful team has actually put the link for that Forrester report in the chat. I do notice a Q&A question. I'm not sure whether maybe perhaps Zubair can address the OT side of things while I keep going with the demo. But
Yeah,
maybe we can curtail.
Yeah, I'm taking the questions, Mike. Carry on.
Fantastic. Okay. Awesome. Carrying on.
Next slide. What this is referring to, and if you don't mind me jumping in, Michael, I'm happy to jump in.
No, please.
Many organizations can't start from day one and become the full-blown SOC organization. So they have to go through a journey. So what we've put together is where the actual journey starts, where you start to unify the detection stack, you start to automate it, modernize the data strategy and so forth. So you can see the arrows going down. Most organizations expect that you start from day one in a full-blown SOC. What we're basically saying is it's a growth journey. It's a journey that you actually take from taking the first step and unifying certain things, consolidating some of the tools you've got, and you go through that process. But that's what the slide is actually referring to, and the way we tend to like to go to business as well. Sorry, Michael.
Don't be silly. Thank you. And I noticed the question from Anton in the chat, so I'll let Zubair and the team handle that. Right, carrying on. Now a demonstration on some of the agents, not all of them, but with time permitting and the environment, I'll start showcasing some of these agents. Bear with me, team. Okay. All righty. Just bear with me while I need to get a few things up and running, just so that I've got everything ready to go.
And everyone, don't be shy. Zubair's here, and so is the team. So if you've got more questions, keep throwing them out there in the Q&A or the chat channels. We're happy to answer them, and we'll support it going from there as well.
Awesome. Okay. So enter stage right, the actual platform itself, or the UI. This is kind of the landing screen, the security command center. Normally, as the team knows here with the Securonix team, we're used to doing an overarching demo of TDIR and the workflow. The most of the pivot's going to be on just the agentic AI stuff. So let me go through that now. So Spotter, which is the search, we've got this here. I'm just going to do a quick refresh, if that's okay. And essentially, it's like any SIM. In case anyone's wondering, there is a search language. It's based on Apache Lucene. You're seeing actually a query that was there, and I've got them just down here. But the benefit with our most recent release of the agent is, instead of having to understand Apache Lucene, and you got to some of the syntax there with the drop down that I showed, the idea is we can launch the Spotter agent, and it just basically says, type your query in natural language, and in line with the LLM movement of the world that we're all going through, we literally mean that. So it's show me top 10 destination addresses in my environment. You hit generate query. We're seeing my screen, right, Mark? Just to make sure. All right, good. And then you get the AI generated query here, which is the Lucene. Index equals activity pipe top limit equals 10 destination addresses. And then you hit the magnifying glass. And that is as simple as that in terms of the search. Now, what I've found is some people, actually, it's quite daunting to run through search. SOC work or analyst work is notably and should be a mix of reactive and proactive efforts. Reactive is just relying on the detection sentiment of the platform, but it's important that the proactive stuff, and even if it's a pivot from the reactive detections, is to always go a bit of plus minus as one use case, as well as many others, to do proactive searching. But it can be daunting for an analyst sometimes, because learning different languages, KQL in Sentinel, SPL for Splunk. Now you've got the benefit of an agentic AI agent that you can just, and now this is a different statement, show me all activity logs in the past 30 days. Same thing, generate query. The agent goes off the fire, creates the Lucene for you. Okay, index equals activity and Event time after negative 30 days. And you just hit the magnifying glass and then you get your result. So this is a huge uplift in capability, mean time to detect and mean time to respond, and expedition. Okay. It allows you to bring potentially L1 agents into, well, getting through an L1 capacity with respect to SOC much easier, and not having to hire dedicated people potentially, or being able to bring them up the stack and make them immediately or more quicker go to L2 and L3, because L1 is being done by agents. It's the proper way that it should be done, not by replacing, but by augmentation, okay, of capability. Alrighty. Response or investigate. Sorry, investigate. So now I'm going to go to a capability in the product called Security Alert Center. Okay. Let me do a refresh there. Bear with me. And the Security Alert Center is a kind of area where there's a homogenized view across all the detection sentiments across violations and violators, violators being the entities that create the violations. Okay, so I can just simply go push a whole year back. I'll pivot this to view as violators, which are the entities that create the detections. And I can just stay on Carrie Howard here as an entity. And I can see here during that year, there were 4 individual violations that were triggered. And Security Alert Center is an offering and a capability or a render in itself for the analyst in order to better get a homogenized view across the violator or violation. But additionally, you can just click on Generate AI Response here. And what you get very quickly, as you saw, and obviously it would depend on how many violations given that period of time. And in this case, it was quite short, but you get a full summary across that entity with respect to all those violations worn in concatenatively or in a summated way to give an overarching summary with key information, impact reasoning, the data sources, chronology, and the geolocation. So all those attributes are homogenized in an overarching summary. And then, of course, there's recommendations that can be taken based on the summary above. So often we get prospects and partners or customers, saying, is there any way that we can get an overarching summary of a particular entity with respect to the detections and the triggers and the overarching events that they've driven in terms of maliciousness or suspiciousness? And that's what predicated this this AI response area within the SAC, or the Security Alert Center. So that's a great offering. We've had great feedback to that. Moving on. As I said, it's not just search. Next is policy violations. So policy is the administration construct with which it's the creation of the rule logic, where the violation is the trigger. So the analyst would spend time dealing with violations, and potentially security engineering, or maybe the analyst too, would be in the build area, which is what I call the administration. That's policy. Violation is the post-detection trigger. Just really quickly, creating a policy ordinarily in Securonix and many other SIMs, it's not unique to Securonix. In fact, Securonix already does a good job, I think, of being wizard-based or workflow-based. There's a cute little circle here. You go through and into policy details, all the asterisk fields. It's quite intuitive to step through the wizard in order to arrive to a completed policy, which is the rule logic, provide conditions, choose risk scoring technique, etc. But now, with the advent and the release of the agent, you don't have to do all that. We can click this little button here on the right. Just make sure it's policy agent. Hello, I'm a policy agent. How can I help you? So I can just do something which obviously I've prepared earlier, if that's okay. Create a policy. So you're talking to it in natural language. Create a policy for Windows device potential WMIC. Whoops, my apologies. Lateral movement. Command line. And all you do is, yeah, that's okay. I had a feeling this would happen. I jokingly said to Zubair before that the timeout is aggressive here. So just bear with me. I promised you it will work. So let's go through that again. That natural language query, I'll hit. It says working on it, gathering data. And I mentioned this before, the Sigma/YAML. And this one is a little bit more computationally resource hungry versus the other agents. Good questions coming through the chat. I hope they are. We'll wait for the generated result. And there you have it. Sure. Here is the Sigma detection for it. So it's just like talking to ChatGPT. You get the full Sigma there, the explanation, and then you can just hit yes, create policy, as opposed to going through that wizard UI sentiment. So it's a huge force multiplier in speed and efficacy. Okay. You can get to some pretty complex, comprehensive and deep security engineering based rule logic for your detections just through using natural language, which is a huge game changer. Almost there. I'm still going. Lots of agents, like I said. Noise cancellation. So noise cancellation was one of those agents, and I'll click on that. We'll just get this refreshed. And I'll just pivot to a particular multi-tenant or tenant environment. So here we have a range of telemetry around the highest violation policy. So the policy is the administration construct, and the violations of the triggers. And you can see here, these are the policy names with the mouse overs and the tooltips. You can see the full thing. And then the type of whether they're correlated or periodic in terms of the triggers and the number of violations and their share in the overarching violation pool. Okay. So if I just focus on this one, potential folder DACL, modification activity analytic, it's a periodic one, 4.78 million violations. So as an analyst, you would come in here, you would see that, and that's a lot. Okay. So it's a type of periodic. So I would click on periodic and then click on that very policy. Okay. And then I can break down this noise cancellation agent. And it says this agent reviews this noisy policy and explains the causes of the noise and offers recommendations to reduce it. It says, obviously, as we saw, it was a high volume of violations. It represented 15.83% total violation from the pool, but it was consistent hourly periodicity. And you saw that with the spikes then. Okay. Which you can see all the tooltips there in the mouse overs. Okay. So it's right. It was able to analyze that. Single account and resource name involved. Okay. Potential false positive triggers. Predictable hourly patterns suggest automated system activity. Single account generating all violations indicates benign operational behavior. Now it's a recommendation. So the agent is trying to augment and enhance your research as an analyst or the security engineering to come to a conclusion for that. Okay. That's the benefit of the agent. And thus, as a result, the recommendations are policy generates excessive noise from a single account with predictable hourly pattern, no actionable security value due to consistent benign activity pattern. Okay. Which the correlation or the causality can be there. You can see that. The agent, all the agent does is help you come to that conclusion, which is pretty cool. Okay. Now, if I go back here, a different view, with this possible PowerShell downgrade attack analytic, it's a correlated one. I'm going to go to correlated policies. The other benefit of the NCS and the agents is, so there's the possible, there you go, possible PowerShell downgrade attack analytic. There are two correlated policies, which was the same one as before, mind you, and suspicious DLL sideloaded activity using DISM core DLL library analytic. Very security comprehensive and technical. Okay. I'm going to click on, I'm going to click on that. And what this shows is the overlap, okay, between these two policies. And therefore, because of the overlap or the correlation, there is a potential of being able to be slimmer with your policy design because you have two policies essentially generating very similar with the overlap in terms of violation propensity, as you can see that. So you can go to the actions and you can either edit, you can mark it as not noisy, copy, execute on spotter, or enable or delete. So what the correlated policies in NCS is trying to show you similarities. And you saw that with the heat map with the overlap. And then potentially you can whittle down your policy violation, your policy architecture, as you can see there. I talked a little bit at length about that one, but I kind of like that one. And I think it resonates with the market of SIM users, where they're constantly getting the need to trim down, make things faster, and reduce alert fatigue. And you can see hopefully there that exactly that hammers home how you can get outcomes for that. All right, almost there. How am I running for time, guys? I haven't even checked. Hopefully we're okay.
Yeah, you're doing
and
great,
perhaps
mate. You're doing great. We've got
with
plenty
a
of time.
summary from yourself. All right, okay. I'm almost done, to be honest. All right, insider intent. This is incredibly fancy, this one. So insider intent is insider threat in itself with UEBA is more binary, like emphatic in terms of the outcome, threat or maliciousness. It's designed to detect fundamental maliciousness or threat based, hence UEBA. Okay, insider intent is more the breadcrumbs that are much more nuanced and not necessarily implicitly malicious, but are potentially forming towards that arrow that may get there. It's the underlying or precursor intent that may lead to that. Incredibly nuanced and really something that only an LLM or the Agentic AI agent movement can really solve. So in regards to this, just some of the highlights here with the insider intent agent. You have a decision boundary. The closer to zero that you get is less false positive, because obviously with nuance, there's always a degree of potential false positive. The decision boundary is really helpful to show you with respect to the spectrum. The closer to 1 is more likely to be false positive, whereas the closer to 0 is going to be more emphatic and closer to the truth. Okay, so it shows you that spectrum. All right, right now we're sitting at 0.35 on that particular input though. Okay, this is a demo environment. So AI flagged as high risk. You can see here account name, the trigger sentence, and in this case, the query, it was over probably a packet processing implementation, because you can see domain. So it's probably search strings. All right. Or browser activity or behavior. A lot of questions coming through the chat. Hopefully these are good. So you can see here, Civvy Hole, how to disable or remove features, all off spray cleaner. So the LLM grade popped that up with a distance. Okay, and that is absolutely intent. You can see how when people are writing things like, or searching delete data or clean traces of information, something my daughter would write, that was an appropriate flag with the AI, right? And that is incredibly difficult to see reactively with current SIM or cyber detection and response capability. That underlying or much more nuanced intent, not implicitly maliciousness. Whereas Securonix Insider Intent Agent is able to offer the nuance behind that with these triggers, as you can see here. If I scroll down, you can see here how to, this is horrible, how to murder a coworker, but these are appropriate strings that should be fired with some level of detection sentiment for possible further investigation. Okay, and you have the luxury of having that capability within Securonix's UDS platform. Okay, policy results scrolling down. You can see here all these categories: obfuscation, violence risk, right? Which is now we've got a filter on those those underlying AI triggers above, but with a category pivot, as you can see, of financial crimes. As I click on these things, you can see the queries change: direct bank transfer, open checking account. So all those strings, all those nuanced, or what we consider the precursor intent, you now have the luxury of having detection sentiments for you within the platform. Obviously, understanding that the underlying platform is SIM, so log sources need to be cobbled up and architected in, process pipeline, punch through, and then you have the ability for the insider intent agent to wash over the telemetry and the raw data in order to trigger these, which is, I find this amazing, and this is probably one of our more comprehensive agentic AI agents. And that, unsure of how we're tracking for time, perhaps I went through that a little bit quickly, but that for the demo for today, and please, obviously, sorry, go for it, Zubin.
Yeah, you can just click on the signal amplifier and show the AI reporting on the left.
Thank you. There you go. Oh, okay. I haven't been through this, so if you wanted to ad lib at any point and help direct my mouse, go for it.
So thanks, Max. So, so team, what we're doing here is, we're taking UEBA even one step further, right? So UEBA is more of looking at user behavior, but what we are trying to help our customers is also identify intent from an employee perspective. There could be an insider threat or compromised credential, those kind of things, right? So here, what Michael showed you was the different policies that we have that get triggered, and the insider intent agent basically risk scores all the employees. With the signal amplifier, what we do is we surface those high risky employees that basically we are more confident that this could be an insider threat for the organization. And what we also do is using the AI incident creator, we can also summarize the activities that we have detected. So if you can just select all these data sources, like storm alerts, proof point, DLP, and web proxy. And what the AI incident summarization or creator will do is when you click on generate the report, it basically summarizes all the data that we have collected for this particular employee, like who's the employee, what is the context analysis that we have done as a solution, what are the recommendations that you need to do as an organization for this particular employee. So all of that is basically given to you in a format which you can then use, export it as a report, or just present it to the necessary authorities within your organization who are responsible for detecting or taking actions again insider threats. So the AI, the insider intent agent is basically a complementing capability to our already strong UEBA feature. So all this information is also fed into the UEBA analytics. So the eventual risk score of the user increases. So we have identified the intent. Now let's see what the user is doing post doing all these searches or copying files, etc. We can see them doing job searches, or we can see them exfiltrating data or downloading data from SharePoint. So it all gets tied up into the entire workflow of insider intent or insider threat. So you have the full visibility from intent to exfiltration.
Thank you very much, Sabir.
Thanks.
I just had a chance to look at my phone to see where we're sitting in terms of, I think I went through that a bit quick, but that essentially concludes the content for today. And whether we wrap up early or we can leave it to question and answer, I put it out to my team as well, at Securonix.
No, put it out. See if they got anyone's got any questions as well.
I think Kovalan has a question. We can answer it right away, Zubair, if you would like.
Yeah. DIP being destination IP, Sabir, when you wrote DIP?
That was DLP.
Oh, DLP, that's what I think. Like I asked. Data loss prevention.
So let's open up the sort of the Q&A sessions. If has anyone got any questions, they want to raise their hands, they want to jump on live or put it in the web chat. Happy to sort of hear that from anyone. And while we're waiting, I'd like to ask Dev a question. You're the head of sales in APJ. You've spoken to many different customers across different continents and so forth. What are you seeing is the main topic around AI with some of the customers you've spoken with?
Thank you for asking this question, Mark. So, well, this is a very hot topic nowadays, right? And everybody in the room is excited about AI. And a lot of players in the market, they're bringing out AI technologies. Some are across the different maturity curve, right? Some are more mature like us. Some are still on the PPTs, and so a lot of people are concerned around what value does the AI bring on the table, right? Especially around the SOC efficiency. Can they bring in efficiencies in the SOC operations? That is the number one conversation that I see in the rooms. The other aspect of the AI element is how do we secure the AI models? That also comes into play. So these are some of the points that I see while I am discussing with some of the prospects and customers. Zubair, would you like to add something?
I think you have covered, Dave, but typically from an AI perspective, the common concerns are around what, like one of the questions was posted, like what data is shared across, how are you monitoring, how is the, adoption of agentic AI in SOC impacting from a data privacy perspective. So those are the common concerns that we're seeing. And from our perspective, when we are adopting agentic AI in our solution, we ensure that we take care of the customer's data, data regulations, data privacy regulations, etc. in the platform. The models are tuned accordingly as well, so as to they don't hallucinate or provide incorrect output. We also have given the capability of providing feedback back into the solution. So if there is a chance wherein the output is not correct, we will basically, take that feedback and then tune the models.
All right. Thank you, Zubair. So let's try to answer this couple of questions that are in the chat while we are live. So Colin has a follow-up question on the question that he asked earlier. So he is asking if he doesn't have these tools, would this feature won't be available to client, right? Zubair, when you answered, we would need log sources such as proxy, DLP, firewall, and HRMS for the contextual information. If he doesn't have these tools, then what happens?
So as I replied to that. So while we're talking, so the richness of the output team depends on the data sources, right? As is with any SIM solution, right? So the more the data sources, the better is the output. We are not saying we need all of them. So for example, let's say if you don't have DLP, we will work with web proxy. We'll work with your HRMS tool. We'll work with the context sources like Active Directory to give you that information. But to get the full context and the full picture, the more the sources, like for example, in some cases, the proxy is part of the next generation firewall. So that could be a source for us as well. So it's not like we need every data source, but the more the better.
Sure. I think I'll take this another question from Anil Kumar while maybe Zubair, you answer Royal's question on the Yuba.
Yeah, I was writing that, the answer on that. Yeah.
Go ahead. So, Anil says, about the hosting rights of our data because we're a SaaS offering, right? So, Anil, we have multiple data hosting options available. For example, here in Singapore, we host over AWS. We have Australia hosting. We have Jakarta, Indonesia hosting. We have India hosting. We have Middle East, UAE hosting. You have US, Europe, So you can choose the hosting depending on your requirements and the local residency requirements. That is one. The second part of the question is, do I have option to use my own LLM account? So Zubair, do you want to address this?
So our models, our agents are based on Amazon Bedrock. So we currently limit that to our own LLMs. So at this moment, there's no flexibility of using your own agents.
Sure. All right. So that was Zubair's kid as well saying, no, you cannot use your own agent, which is good. Any other questions, guys?
Be quiet. Does anyone want to jump on? Just put your hand up and we'll give you a chance to ask questions if you like. To one of the previous questions, we are going to send everyone a copy of this recording as well, for those who couldn't make it as well. So we'll be sending a copy of this as well with some of the material attached to it. So rest assured you'll get a copy of that as well. I think we've got a new question.
So I can answer I can potentially answer Atul Mishra's question.
Atul,
You mean the training and the learning of the model? It's not being shared, if that's what your question was. We're not training the agent on customer data. It's trained in-house, therefore not shared. And how is it protected? I'm afraid I might need some embellishment when you're saying in the runtime, but we're not training the data with customer data. We're not training the model with customer data. It's trained in-house, and then for your use thereafter. And it's not shared. No, the data training is not shared. Welcome. And share example executive dashboard. Potentially, for the time remaining, I can try to do that live. Otherwise, we'll send you something. Bear with me.
Rahul, did you still want to ask a question? I saw your hand up for a second there, and then it dropped out. Hi, Rahul, can you hear us?
Yeah, I think Atul has a question. Is the platform can identify agentic AI being used in the same environment and monitoring potential? So we do have the guardrails, Atul, that typically would be required for any agentic AI capabilities. We also rely on Amazon Bedrock to provide some of them, but we ensure that things around prompt injection techniques and hallucination, as well as data sharing is not done. So we don't share, as Michael mentioned, any customer data outside. So we have those guardrails in place. We can have a detailed discussion into what those guardrails are. We can share with you as well, if you'd like. But yeah, to answer your question, we do take care of those of how the data is shared and how the agents behave. What are the maximum use cases supported by Securonix, and is it possible to add? So out of the box library has around 2000 plus use cases, Rahul. You can create your own custom use cases as well. You can tune the existing use case as per your environment needs. And these use cases are basically around behavior analytics, around rule-based detection. So it's a combination of both of them. And there's no maximum limit, but typically at the end of the day, you need to know what is the outcome that you want to derive from the sim, and based on the outcome, you will enable the use cases, right? So although you can enable all 2,500 of them, but if that's what you really need, you can do that. But for us, we take an outcome-based approach as to what are your use cases, or what is the value that you want to see from the sim, and based on that, we will recommend you the use cases to be deployed.
Yeah. So just to add on to what Zubair is saying, even for our largest customers globally, right, we don't see all these 2000 use cases being enabled, right? So it has to be outcome based. That is one. And of course, I think when you're referring to the contract, so we don't put any license limit to the use cases.
So
Go
how
ahead.
does the UEBA work? I think, Michael, you've already answered that. How do we integrate third parties? Is it collector from on-premise or API? So, Rohal, we do have a collector that we deploy in customer data center. We recommend minimum one collector per data center, depending on the event volume. For SaaS-based applications, we have native APIs that we can use to pull events. So our collector supports hybrid environments. It could be cloud, it could be SaaS, it could be on-prem. And we have more than 650 plus data sources that we currently can pull in logs from, as well as the ability to create your own custom integrations as well.
So we've got probably we've got basically just a bit over 5 minutes to go. Rahul, Ro, I'll actually allow you to talk because I saw your message there. So you should come up and
Right.
you can unmute. If you want to unmute, you can jump on and have a quick question.
Oh, no worries. Actually, I think the question have been answered. Actually, more of it is because I'm concerned on the more of the data shared to agentic AI. So I want to check how do we make sure that the data sent over is not it's already like masked, or do you do some filtering before the data are sent over? Yeah.
Yeah, we do have thanks for the question. We do have a native masking capabilities within the SIM platform as well that mask, PII data or any sensitive information. Now, when it comes to sharing data with let's say Bedrock, there's no persistence. So if there is, let's say, a recommendation or from the response agent that you want to fetch in, it will just share whatever attributes are necessary. Get the response back, and then so sort of delete everything that was shared. So we don't persist any data in our models. It's just temporary sharing of information, and then pulling back the response or recommendations that you need.
Anyone else? I think we've got a couple on the Q&A there. Did anyone answer those for a tool?
So what are the top use cases of agentic AI in SOC? Can you give some examples? So Atul, it all started with how do we optimize L1, L2 and analyst tasks, because that's where the key pain area is that we have seen from the various CISOs or SOC managers that we talk to. So the response agent is definitely one of the things that has gained a lot of traction, because the amount of time it takes to triage any incident could be from hours to days in some cases, depending on the incidents. And we basically reduce that within minutes. Now, what we have gone above that is also looked at other aspects wherein agents can be used to optimize your overall experience with Securonix, and that includes, spotter agent, wherein we can convert natural language to our own queries. So your teams don't need to learn the Securonix query language, or help you even reduce the overall noise in the SIM, because noisy SIM is one of the main pain areas as well for security teams. And with noise cancellation agent, we give you those insights into what are those noisy policies or use cases. And also data pipeline manager agent, because a lot of SOC managers, CISOs talk about how can I optimize the overall spend in my SIM. And we have introduced the DPM, which basically helps you segregate data based on what is security relevant from a use case perspective, and what is relevant just for compliance or storage. So based on that, you can split your logs within our platform, and overall optimize the spend on the license. So these are 4 or 5 use cases that we have seen that our agents have been actually providing a lot of value to the customers.
It looks like we're near the end of time. Look, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We'll be sharing the presentation and recording of the webinar in the next couple of days. If you'd like to see this in action, as part of that email, we'll basically have a link in there where you can actually have one of the guys actually request a demo, and we'll actually organize a time to actually discuss it and actually give you a live demo. I think I've got one more question there from Igor, just jumped on the chat. How often is the LLM updated to include some of the knowledge about latest threats, example Salesforce?
I mean, it's part of our threat content team, wherein we constantly update the use cases, the models with the latest information. We also have the threat quotient, which is part of our library that pulls in information from different sources. So all of these contribute to overall enriching the experience from a content perspective, and we make sure that we provide the latest content around security threats. So even if you don't use agentic AI, as I mentioned, we have a content team that actually keeps on publishing use cases, feeds, etc., to our customers. And then, of course, from an agentic perspective, that is also taken care of.
All right, then. Thank you once again. Enjoy the rest of your day. And for those who are in Australia, Victoria, enjoy the weekend and hope your football team wins the grand final. Other than that, everyone, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.